The story begins in the opulent setting of a suburban New York mansion, where the engagement party for Olivia Hartman and Ethan Caldwell is underway. The room glimmers with chandeliers reflecting light across polished surfaces, champagne flutes clinking in delicate harmony, and guests dressed in their finest attire. On the surface, the celebration embodies success, refinement, and social grace. Yet beneath this veneer of sophistication, tension simmers like an unspoken current. The Hartmans and Caldwells have a history that is far from cordial, with murmurs of old rivalries, lingering jealousy over financial fortunes, and subtle personal grudges creating an undercurrent of unease. Olivia, the bride-to-be, floats through the gathering, nervously admiring the engagement ring Ethan gifted her, unaware that the glittering festivities conceal emotional landmines. Every polite conversation is a careful dance, with each guest navigating a delicate balance between diplomacy and subtle provocation. The audience is immediately placed within a world where appearances matter more than truth, and where family honor and social perception dictate behavior, setting the stage for the personal and emotional chaos that is about to erupt. Tension escalates as familial dynamics subtly clash. Richard Caldwell, Ethan's father, delivers a pointed remark about the Hartman family's history of impulsive decisions, veiled as a casual comment but laden with judgment. Margaret Hartman, Olivia's mother, responds with visible indignation, signaling the fragility of civility that has been maintained only through mutual social politeness. The subtext here is critical. The engagement, which is meant to unite two families, instead exposes the simmering resentments that threaten to boil over. Every glance, tone, and choice of words carries weight, with the audience witnessing the precarious balance between social grace and explosive confrontation. The characters' inner anxieties are amplified by their desire to appear composed, creating dramatic tension. The narrative emphasizes that in this high-stakes social arena, even minor gestures or remarks can trigger disproportionate emotional responses, setting the groundwork for betrayal, shock, and humiliation that will soon dominate the story. The reader begins to sense that the stakes are not merely personal, but extend to reputation, family honor, and the intricate web of social power. The dramatic turning point occurs with the unexpected arrival of Sophie Lewis, Ethan's ex-girlfriend, whose presence instantly destabilizes the party. She moves quietly yet purposefully, delivering a small envelope to Ethan before slipping away, her intentions unclear to everyone but immediately suspicious to the attentive observer, Olivia. When the envelope accidentally falls near Olivia during a celebratory toast, the carefully maintained social facade shatters. Inside, she finds a recent photo of Ethan with Sophie, proof of deception, rekindling questions about loyalty, trust, and integrity. The room falls into stunned silence as Olivia confronts Ethan publicly, an emotional eruption that exposes private betrayals to the scrutiny of family and friends. This moment crystallizes the story's central conflicts. Love, loyalty, reputation, and familial pride are all at risk. The opening incident hooks the audience by blending personal heartbreak with social scandal, ensuring immediate engagement. It vividly demonstrates that beneath polished exteriors, human emotions are volatile, and that a single revelation can dismantle years of carefully constructed appearances, thrusting all characters into high-stakes emotional conflict that will define the trajectory of the narrative. Olivia Hartman, at 28, is a driven marketing executive whose ambition has been a defining force in both her professional and personal life. Growing up in a household marked by her parents' volatile marriage, she internalized lessons about caution, loyalty, and emotional vigilance. These experiences shaped her fiercely protective nature toward her family and instilled deep-seated trust issues, particularly in matters of the heart. Olivia has always envisioned a perfect love story, one where devotion, transparency, and stability intersect, which made her relationship with Ethan initially feel like a fulfillment of that dream. Her romantic ideals, however, make her vulnerable. The more she invests emotionally in a vision of flawless love, the more devastating betrayal becomes when reality diverges from expectation. Within her family dynamics, she often assumes the role of emotional anchor, balancing her younger brother Logan's attempts at diplomacy and managing her parents' frequent confrontations. The audience immediately sees Olivia as a character whose strengths, ambition, loyalty, intelligence are inseparable from her vulnerabilities, particularly her sensitivity to betrayal and fear of making the wrong choices, making her both relatable and sympathetic. Her current engagement is not just a personal milestone. It is a test of her judgment, her ability to trust, and her resilience against the weight of familial expectations. Ethan Caldwell, 30, contrasts Olivia with a combination of charm, strategic thinking, and conflict avoidance. As a successful real estate developer, he has mastered the art of negotiation, presentation, and maintaining a polished public image, reflecting the values of his status-conscious family. Beneath this surface, however, Ethan struggles with unresolved personal entanglements, most notably his lingering feelings for his ex, Sophie Lewis. While his love for Olivia is genuine and deep, his inability to fully confront past emotions or communicate transparently creates a hidden tension in the relationship. He often opts for avoidance over confrontation, believing that shielding others from uncomfortable truths preserves harmony, though in reality, it compounds risk and uncertainty. Ethan's charm and resourcefulness can mask his internal conflict, yet the audience senses that his perfection in social execution does not translate to emotional clarity. This duality positions him as both sympathetic and flawed, caught between his genuine desire to honor his commitment to Olivia and the emotional complications from past relationships. His hesitation introduces narrative tension, making the unfolding drama of trust and betrayal not only plausible but intensely compelling, as viewers anticipate whether Ethan will confront his vulnerabilities or allow deception to unravel the fragile equilibrium of both families. The present setup amplifies the stakes by situating both families and their respective emotional legacies within a crucible of tension and expectation. The Hartmans, overprotective and prone to emotional confrontation, hover anxiously over Olivia, making her question whether she has the wisdom to navigate love, loyalty, and judgment. Logan, her younger brother, attempts to mediate conflicts, yet his interventions are often insufficient against the deeper currents of family history and unresolved grievances. Across the room, the Caldwells' emphasis on appearances and secrecy, Richard Caldwell's prioritization of social image over emotional honesty, Lydia Caldwell's subtle manipulations, exacerbates the pressure on Ethan, whose desire to avoid conflict collides with his need for transparency. Both Olivia and Ethan are caught between internal fears and external expectations, navigating personal desires while under intense familial scrutiny. This environment establishes a rich emotional landscape. The audience perceives the vulnerability, insecurities, and relational tension that make each character's decisions and reactions believable. The groundwork is laid for the high-stakes drama to follow, where personal and family honor, trust, and emotional resilience intersect, creating a story that resonates deeply with viewers who recognize the complexity of love, loyalty, and human imperfection. The inciting incident begins with Olivia confronting Ethan privately, seeking clarity and truth after the shocking revelation at the engagement party. In this intimate, emotionally charged moment, Olivia's vulnerability is laid bare. Her eyes reflect disbelief, hurt, and a desperate need to understand whether the foundation of their relationship was built on honesty or deception. Ethan admits that he met Sophie recently, insisting that the encounter was an attempt to close an emotional chapter from his past and that nothing physical transpired. Despite his reassurance, Olivia cannot reconcile the fact that Ethan kept such a significant meeting a secret. Her trust, painstakingly nurtured through years of commitment and personal sacrifice, shatters under the weight of betrayal. She experiences a tumultuous swirl of emotions: shock, heartbreak, anger, and self-doubt, questioning not only Ethan's integrity but her own judgment in trusting him. The confrontation escalates as Olivia vocalizes her pain, demanding accountability and transparency, only to find Ethan torn between guilt, defense, and his own emotional confusion. The intensity of this private confrontation sets the tone for the story's emotional trajectory, revealing the depth of both characters' flaws and desires. It establishes Olivia as a protagonist at a crossroads, forced to navigate the complexities of betrayal while wrestling with her own principles and emotional resilience. The secondary incident amplifies tension and transforms private heartbreak into a public spectacle. Richard Caldwell, Ethan's father, publicly criticizes Olivia at the party for overreacting, framing her emotional response as irrational and socially inappropriate. This judgment inflames existing tensions, not only between Olivia and Ethan but also between the two families, exposing fragile alliances and long-standing resentments. Margaret Hartman, Olivia's protective mother, retaliates sharply, defending her daughter and challenging Richard's condescension, igniting a heated argument that reverberates through the gathering. The once celebratory engagement party descends into chaos, with whispered judgments, pointed glares, and overt expressions of familial rivalry. What was meant to be a union of two families now becomes a battlefield of pride, emotion, and social maneuvering. The narrative emphasizes that status and appearances cannot shield personal vulnerability, as public scrutiny intensifies the emotional stakes. Both families, each with their own motivations and grudges, begin reacting strategically. Some attempt to restore civility and mend bridges, while others manipulate events to assert control or undermine the opposing family. The incident exposes the intricate dynamics of familial power, pride, and expectation, setting the stage for future conflict and forcing characters to confront their authentic emotions amidst societal pressures. Narratively, this inciting incident serves as a catalyst for Olivia's personal journey. The status quo, carefully maintained by social niceties, engagement festivities, and mutual appearances, is irreparably destroyed. The engagement, once a symbol of love, trust, and social accomplishment, is effectively shattered, leaving Olivia to confront not only Ethan's hidden past, but also the implications for her own sense of identity and judgment. Heartbroken and enraged, she is forced into action. Should she fight for the relationship she thought was perfect, leave and reclaim autonomy, or redefine herself entirely outside the confines of familial expectation and romantic commitment? This narrative moment heightens emotional stakes, ensuring that every subsequent choice carries weight and consequence. The audience witnesses Olivia's transformation from a hopeful bride-to-be into a protagonist navigating betrayal, trust, and self-discovery, while Ethan's vulnerabilities and the family's manipulations provide rich tension that propels the story forward. By placing Olivia in a crucible of heartbreak, anger, and moral decision-making, the narrative establishes momentum, signaling that the unfolding drama will test character, loyalty, and resilience, drawing readers deeply into the emotional core of the story. As the narrative progresses, the tension between Olivia and Ethan deepens, marking a pivotal escalation in both personal and relational stakes. Olivia, reeling from betrayal, begins to distance herself physically and emotionally from Ethan, withdrawing into introspection and guarded interactions. This separation forces her to confront patterns of control and influence within her own family, recognizing how overprotectiveness and conditional expectations have subtly shaped her decisions, including her choice to become engaged. Her internal struggle becomes a lens through which the audience witnesses her evolution. She questions not only Ethan's honesty, but also her own ability to exercise agency in a life dictated by familial pressures. Meanwhile, Ethan struggles to communicate effectively, torn between his genuine love for Olivia and his instinct to avoid confrontation, believing his partial truths might protect her feelings. However, his lack of full transparency amplifies Olivia's mistrust, creating a feedback loop of misunderstanding and resentment. Their once seemingly perfect relationship becomes increasingly fragile, highlighting the difficulty of reconciling personal desires with past mistakes and external expectations. This stage of rising tension underscores the narrative's focus on emotional realism, as viewers witness characters grappling with vulnerabilities, insecurities, and the consequences of choices that span both personal and familial domains. Complications intensify when external actors re-enter the fray, further destabilizing the already strained relationships. Sophie Lewis reappears, this time asserting that Ethan promised her certain future considerations, injecting new layers of moral ambiguity and conflict into the story. Her presence forces Olivia to reassess not only Ethan's fidelity, but also the boundaries of his commitments and ethical judgment. Simultaneously, Olivia uncovers a series of emails revealing financial secrets tied to Ethan's family business, exposing hidden manipulations and power dynamics that directly impact her perception of both Ethan and his family. These discoveries expand the narrative conflict beyond romance, entwining issues of trust, loyalty, and social standing. The interplay of private betrayal and public implications creates a multidimensional tension that challenges Olivia to navigate love, family loyalty, and personal ethics simultaneously. The audience experiences the intensity of her emotional landscape, where heartbreak, indignation, and disbelief converge with the recognition that appearances are often misleading and that true character is revealed in moments of crisis. The emotional stakes heighten as betrayal becomes more complex, encompassing both romantic and familial dimensions. Olivia's heartbreak evolves into a broader existential questioning of her identity, self-worth, and capacity for autonomy, revealing how her family's overreach and societal expectations have limited her agency. The conflict no longer exists solely between her and Ethan, but radiates outward, touching family honor, business integrity, and social reputation. Richard Caldwell's subtle interference compounds the pressure as he attempts to manipulate Ethan into reconciling for appearances, illustrating how familial machinations prioritize image over emotional honesty. Olivia's navigation of these intersecting pressures illuminates the story's core themes: personal empowerment, the cost of loyalty, and the tension between love and self-preservation. Each revelation and confrontation pushes her toward decisive action, while the audience witnesses the complex interplay of human emotion, flawed decision-making, and relational intricacies. By layering these conflicts, romantic, familial, financial, and social, the narrative establishes a high-stakes emotional environment where every choice has consequences, and personal growth is inseparable from the turbulence of betrayal, mistrust, and the fight for autonomy. The climax unfolds at Ethan Caldwell's father's 60th birthday party, a high-profile social event that combines celebration with the rigid expectations of status and reputation. Olivia, having endured weeks of emotional turmoil and careful reflection, seizes this public stage to confront the Caldwells directly. She exposes their manipulations and unethical business dealings, including hidden corporate strategies and attempts to control her relationship with Ethan for appearances. The confrontation is electric. Elegantly dressed guests gasp as decades of secrecy unravel in real time. Olivia's voice, steady and assertive, commands attention, signaling her transformation from a wronged fiancé into a woman reclaiming agency and moral authority. The dramatic intensity is heightened by the contrast between the glitzy party setting and the raw, unfiltered revelations. Every member of both families, from Olivia's overprotective parents to Richard Caldwell's polished facade, is forced to witness the consequences of their duplicity. This public exposure disrupts social hierarchies and dismantles the carefully curated illusions of civility, thrusting every character into a crucible where personal and public reputations collide. The audience experiences the tension viscerally, as the party morphs from celebration into a theater of emotional reckoning, making the moment both cinematic and emotionally resonant. Amid the chaos, Ethan experiences a profound internal shift. Confronted with the reality of his silence and the consequences of remaining complicit, he grapples with guilt, shame, and the magnitude of betrayal inflicted upon Olivia and others. His complicity, though passive rather than malicious, is undeniable, and he recognizes that avoidance and secrecy have allowed manipulation and exploitation to flourish, particularly by Sophie. The revelation of Sophie's agenda adds a layer of dramatic irony. She has been using Ethan to gain leverage in a corporate deal, manipulating his emotions for personal and financial gain. This twist reframes the previous conflicts, illustrating that many of the struggles were driven by calculated exploitation rather than mere romantic or familial dysfunction. Ethan's realization catalyzes a pivotal turning point. He can no longer maintain pretense or appease his family at the expense of truth. The audience witnesses the high stakes of moral reckoning, as Ethan's internal conflict mirrors Olivia's external assertion of self-respect. The emotional complexity of this moment, intertwining guilt, revelation, and the possibility of redemption, heightens engagement, emphasizing that truth and integrity, though painful, are essential to authentic resolution. The twist culminates in a decisive rebalancing of power and personal agency. Ethan publicly confesses fully, revealing both financial misdeeds and personal truths, choosing honesty over family loyalty and social appearances. Simultaneously, Olivia comes to a profound realization. She no longer needs Ethan's approval or validation to assert her worth and independence. Her transformation is both emotional and moral. She prioritizes self-respect over reconciliation, demonstrating that empowerment is born from integrity, not dependence. Both families are publicly shamed, and long-standing rivalries and pretenses crumble, creating a cathartic release of tension for the audience. The narrative achieves its peak emotional impact as characters confront consequences, reckon with past mistakes, and face the stark reality of social and familial dynamics. Olivia's assertiveness and Ethan's honesty converge in a moment of clarity, reshaping their relationship and personal trajectories. By intertwining the public spectacle, personal revelations, and the twist of Sophie's manipulation, this climax delivers both dramatic intensity and emotional satisfaction, leaving viewers with a sense of resolution, moral justice, and the empowering possibility of reclaiming agency amidst betrayal, deception, and societal pressure. The resolution begins with Olivia making a conscious decision to step away from the Caldwells and the turmoil that has defined the past months. She chooses autonomy over reconciliation, prioritizing her personal growth, career ambitions, and emotional well-being. No longer tethered to Ethan's family or the expectation of approval, Olivia begins to explore her professional potential with renewed vigor, taking on projects that challenge her creatively and intellectually. This act of self-prioritization is both liberating and transformative, marking the culmination of her journey from a hopeful, idealistic fiancé to a confident, empowered woman who defines her life on her own terms. The narrative emphasizes that empowerment is not about revenge or superficial victories, but about reclaiming agency and embracing self-respect. Olivia's interactions with her own family also reflect this growth. She establishes boundaries that mitigate old patterns of overprotection and control, fostering a healthier, more balanced dynamic with her parents and younger brother. Her evolution resonates with the audience as a realistic and inspiring depiction of personal empowerment emerging from betrayal, heartbreak, and conflict. Meanwhile, Ethan is left to confront the consequences of his choices, both with his family and internally. Stripped of the protective shield of Olivia's presence, he faces the full weight of familial scrutiny and the fallout from public exposure of his complicity. His path towards self-reflection begins earnestly as he navigates guilt, regret, and the realization that avoidance and secrecy are insufficient for meaningful growth. While Olivia's arc moves toward independence and strength, Ethan's journey is about accountability and personal development. The story contrasts their trajectories. Olivia acts decisively to reclaim control, whereas Ethan is confronted with the consequences of inaction and the necessity of moral reckoning. This parallel not only deepens the narrative, but also reinforces the theme that empowerment is an active choice rather than a passive outcome. The audience witnesses a realistic depiction of emotional consequences and personal growth, underscoring that self-respect and integrity cannot be imposed. They must be earned through conscious decisions and honest engagement with one's values. The emotional climax of the resolution emphasizes the subtle, ongoing work of rebuilding relationships and trust. Families are forced to confront toxic dynamics, reevaluate long-held behaviors, and reconsider their priorities, though reconciliation is neither immediate nor guaranteed. Olivia's choice to step back demonstrates that empowerment does not require complete forgiveness or instant harmony. It can coexist with unresolved tensions while enabling personal fulfillment and agency. The narrative closes on a note of hopeful realism. Olivia stands stronger, wiser, and independent, a woman who has navigated betrayal, public humiliation, and familial manipulation to emerge with clarity and self-assurance. Her story illustrates that emotional autonomy is the true measure of empowerment, and that growth often requires leaving behind situations that undermine integrity and self-worth. By focusing on personal agency rather than artificial reconciliation, the resolution provides a satisfying, relatable, and inspiring conclusion, leaving the audience with both emotional closure and a sense of the protagonist's enduring resilience and strength. The final moment begins with Olivia in a quiet, intimate dinner with her mother, Margaret, and younger brother, Logan. Away from the glare of social expectation and familial conflict, the scene emphasizes warmth, reflection, and emotional grounding. Over simple plates of food, Olivia engages in gentle conversation, yet her mind drifts to the tumultuous events of the past months, the betrayal, public humiliation, and family confrontations that reshaped her understanding of love and personal agency. She reaches for her journal, a private space where she has long processed thoughts and emotions, and begins to write, not with sorrow, but with clarity and intention. Each word is a reclamation of voice and narrative control, a tangible act of self-empowerment. The simple act of reflection, combined with the comfort of family connection, allows Olivia to smile genuinely for the first time since the engagement scandal. This intimate moment conveys to the audience that healing is neither instantaneous nor dependent on dramatic gestures. It is cultivated through mindfulness, self-awareness, and the support of loved ones who genuinely care. The scene underscores Olivia's transformation, from a woman ensnared by expectation and betrayal to someone who actively shapes her emotional landscape with agency, grace, and authenticity. Simultaneously, the narrative offers a private glimpse of Ethan, who sits alone in reflective silence, absorbing the consequences of his past decisions. In this moment of solitude, he is confronted with remorse, the gravity of his silence, and the moral responsibility he bears toward those he has wronged. Ethan's accountability is not dramatized for public spectacle. It is quiet, introspective, and personal, illustrating that true growth often occurs in unseen moments of honesty with oneself. The audience sees that consequences are not merely punitive but also instructive. He must reckon with the complexities of family loyalty, ethical responsibility, and emotional truth. While Olivia's path forward is defined by action, independence, and empowerment, Ethan's is contemplative and corrective, emphasizing that the story's resolution encompasses both external and internal reconciliation. By juxtaposing Olivia's liberated joy with Ethan's reflective accountability, the narrative achieves a balance between emotional closure and realism, showing that life's lessons often manifest in parallel, contrasting journeys rather than neat, synchronized resolutions. The closing beat of the story reinforces empowerment, freedom, and symbolic release. Olivia walks along a city street at dusk, the soft glow of streetlights and the fading sun reflecting her sense of liberation. The engagement ring, once a symbol of love and later betrayal, is gone, a metaphorical shedding of toxic attachments and past burdens. She moves forward unencumbered, grounded in the knowledge that happiness and closure are earned through self-respect, conscious choice, and personal growth rather than externally granted by others. This final visual and emotional tableau leaves the audience with catharsis and hope, emphasizing realism over fantasy. Personal transformation is a gradual, earned process shaped by reflection, accountability, and agency. The story concludes with a resonant message. While betrayal, conflict, and emotional turbulence may test one's resilience, empowerment and joy are possible when individuals reclaim control of their narrative. Olivia's journey from heartbreak and manipulation to freedom and self-possession provides an emotionally satisfying ending, reinforcing the story's themes of autonomy, integrity, and the enduring capacity for renewal in the face of adversity.